ain't got no way I'm gonna make it without my Lord, no, ain't got no way I'm gonna make it without my Lord, no, ain't got.
A pleasant good evening and welcome. We greet you in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. This is season 3 of Breaking Out of Depression. I am your host, Andy Charles, together with our co host, Gabriella Woods, and our technical director, Brother Dex, in the background. We greet you and we welcome you and we give you thanks for the commitment and support that you have made in the past and will continue to do so in the future. Those who are going to be live with us, joining us even now, and those who are going to see the recording later on. We have a very exciting program, as per usual, to share with you. Another guest, another professional with clinical and personal experience is going to come and share her expertise with us to bring you the information, the knowledge, and the inspiration you need to deal with all kinds and types of depression. It is entitled Clinical Therapy, Postpartum, and Trauma Informed Mental Health with Niketa Pechan, and she'll be coming on approximately 7 p.m. AST, Atlantic Standard Time. So, without further ado, let's go to God in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the opportunity that you have presented unto us as your people to be part of this amazing and wonderful community. As we do so, God, we expect that your blessing and your hand of guidance and your continued help in the resources that are necessary to make this a reality, that you would continue to be there for us because you are our total source of supply. That everything that we do, God, let us remind ourselves to remember who we are and whose we are, and to always be a servant to the people as we come together and give them all the information that they need to help them deal with all levels of depression, anxiety, burnout, and all the things that may be in negative fallout and an influence as a result of these challenges that we face every single day. So be with us. We give you thanks for the support of family, friends, and loved ones. And may we continue to engage in a community that will grow and develop, that will be there to be supporting and helping to each other, that we'd continue to thrive and overcome and be resilient in the face of all odds. For we ask this in no other name but Jesus, the living Christ, with thanksgiving. Amen. So, welcome again in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. This is season 3 and a very exciting program. I will now invite my co host, Gabriella, to just give us some comments
Good
and then
night.
I'll do the opening session for us.
Good night, everyone. It's so good to be in this atmosphere today. I'm so excited about what is going to happen, the discussions that we are going to have. And I pray even that as the guest speaker comes in, Nikita, that she really blesses and she touches the lives of all the women that will be on this platform and even educate us and edify us about everything that has to do with psychology, with childhood, with trauma. I'm really excited, so I cannot wait.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gabriella. That
Yes.
sounds really good. So, remember, folks, our annual theme, Thrive to Stay Alive for all of 2025. And this is coming from the scriptures, 3 John 1 and 2. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prosper. We're going to have a spotlight moment in a while, but first of all, as per usual, we just want to do some recall on our last episode with Laura Richards. Wow, that was something else. So, Gabriella, I will let you go first. Just give us some feedback and some memories that we have from our last guest. And that was really an exciting and wonderful program. Yeah?
Yes, it indeed was. She really was vulnerable. She really let it out. She let us know exactly everything that she went through. She didn't hold back any information.
Exactly, exactly.
Um, what was striking for me was, she spoke about why it is so difficult for women to, exit or come out of a narcissistic
Yeah,
relationship,
yeah,
and she
yeah.
spoke about trauma bonding which basically speaks about, the same person who is giving you love and all the attention at times is also the person who is causing you pain, is causing you,
Yeah.
to be in this place where you're wondering what is happening here. And
Yeah.
it is something, it's a cycle that, this emotional entanglement causes women to go through this kind of psychological dependency. And you think,
Hmm.
okay, I need to stay here, or I shouldn't leave because, okay, maybe somewhere down the line he would start to love me or he would change,
Hmm. Yeah.
and, women go through this cycle and it's very difficult. But she spoke about recognizing that cycle. And once you realize that cycle that you are going through and you make that conscious decision, am I going to, is this relationship or is this situation something that I could stay in? Is it something I could deal with the rest of my life? And that was her aha moment. When she questioned herself, she stepped back and she asked herself, is this person going to change, or is this person going to remain the way he's going to be and operate? And am I willing to stay in this relationship and bear with everything that is going through?
Yeah.
And she went through a whole 32 years. It wasn't that she didn't try. She tried everything. She
Mhm.
did counseling, she did talk therapy, she prayed, she went to church, she did everything.
Yeah.
And still she was in this loop where she couldn't come out, and she was just in this place of depression. She was in this place where she couldn't come out, and she made that conscious decision, and she really gave us that information and that insight. If it is you do decide to leave a narcissistic relationship, make sure that you leave subtly. You don't leave, you don't announce it. So
Yeah.
you need to be very strategic when you decide to actually exit a narcissistic relationship.
Yeah.
And one of the things that she highlighted also was the fact that, women need to have that financial independence. Even when you're in a good relationship, it's always good for the woman to always have some kind of money put aside, because you don't know what could happen. I mean, nobody goes into a relationship thinking, hey, it's going to end in a divorce. But she unfortunately had to go through that. And it's only afterwards she realized, okay, I don't have any money. I didn't have a side job. I didn't have this. So now I have to be fighting up as to where I'm going to get the finances. But she didn't let that hold her back. She made the conscious decision that she's no longer going to be bogged down, and she decided to leave. And of course, she got the support that was needed. So that was one of my highlights from last week's episode.
Gabriella.
You're
For
welcome.
me personally, I listened to the first answer that she gave with regards to the length of time that she had been there. And it is so scary to realize that she did not even know that she was being manipulated and
Yes.
technically being abused and mishandled for all that time until she heard this particular video and she realized, wait a minute, I need to be heard, I need to be seen, I'm important, I matter, I'm of value. And that
Yes.
kind of broke the ice. The other thing that she said that moved me was she said there are basically two types of narcissistic behaviors. One is overt, which is, outstanding, you can see it on the outside, and the other one is covert. And she thinks that the second one, which is covert, is the most dangerous one, and that is the one that she was actually in. It was so subtle, you know, and she didn't realize all these little things. And she used some terms like the love bombing and all that kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, and she spoke about how there are some chemical imbalances that takes place in the brain, and you really think that you have to depend upon this person. You need to be there, you need to stay, you want to leave after a sense of realization comes, but then when you think about leaving, it kind of puts you in a position where the reptilian part of your brain, the survival mode, kicks in. You say,
Yes.
no, I can't leave, I have to stay. But you have to find a way to gradually, as you rightfully say, gradually, do your research, reach out to people whom you can trust, people who you actually know care about you and would listen to you. And if not, do the research, get the videos, go online in your quiet time, do some journaling. Yeah, she spoke about that. And just
Yes.
get a plan going, and eventually over time find your way out of that toxic relationship. And one thing I it sounds really scary, is that the subtle things that they would want you to do. Like you may not want to paint your fingernails, but
Yes.
they will find a way to make you feel like it's a good thing, but it's a form of manipulation. You don't want to go to the movies or to a certain restaurant or to be with certain friends that they hang out with, but they will find a way to get you to go. Then you're thinking, oh, he thinks I'm important. He wants him to be there. He wants to show. No, no, no. All of that can be little subtle forms of the narcissistic behavior. And she
Yes.
says you have to be aware of the little telltale signs, the little signals. Be on the alert and just look out for them. So, a pleasant good evening to the panel. Sister Gracie Vincent is in the house as per usual. Thank you so much, sister, for your continued commitment and your support. We do this for people like you. Okay, so Dexter, we're gonna go into the spotlight moment now. And the spotlight moment is from one of our past guests, Dr. April Brown. And she has a very short video on mindset, but it's powerful. It's in an interview, a live interview with someone else. And we'll just make our comments known after the video has been completed. Yeah?
If something dire happens and my first thought is like not important or it's selfish, I'm like, why did that come to my brain first?
Right, but that's okay because you have to realize you have a tiny, all of us
Yeah.
have a tiny conscious mind and a huge subconscious mind that takes
Oh.
in everything that we watch on TV and all this kind of stuff. So of course negativity is going to come to our mind.
I had
It's
no
going to
idea.
yes. Our unconscious mind is like 80% bigger than the subconscious mind.
What?
Yes. So, of course, stuff's going to come in your mind, but you wouldn't even, yeah. And let's say something happens and you do lose your cool and you yell and scream at someone.
Mm-hmm.
That happens.
If something dire happens,
Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, Dex. So, Gabriella, what did you grab? What did you get? What did you glean from that very short but sort of dynamic interview with regards to the subconscious as opposed to the conscious?
Yeah. It's like it brings me to the point of music because a
Yeah,
lot of times people say music don't affect me if I listen to this, if I listen to that.
really?
I wanted it not I that not affected me, but
Mm,
I'm sure there are persons who would have listened to like the cars passing the road, they're lying down on your bed, a car passed with a particular song. And you lie down, you wasn't really taking it on, but you catch yourself 2 minutes after singing the exact or the rhythm in your head, and
exactly.
that is how the subconscious functions.
Yes.
So we need to be very mindful of what we put into our brains, what we feed our minds. It is very
Mm,
important.
yeah.
And as for even for our young people, they may think that the music that they listen to nowadays is like, okay, that not affecting me. I not gonna pick up a gun, I not gonna kill nobody, but they don't know
Mm,
the impact that it has. So it's really good. It's really good. We really need to be careful. And she also talked about the negativity, which is what how the brain functions from our last session with what is her name? I can't remember her name
Laura.
right. Laura. Yes. Not Laura, before Laura.
Oh, that
Um
is, yeah. Good
yeah.
one. Good one, Gabriella. Good one.
And she
Rachel,
spoke about
Rachel, Rachel.
Rachel. Was it Rachel? And she spoke about, how the brain is
Oh no, it was
wired.
Rhonda.
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 Yes, how the brain
Yes.
is wired for
You have
negativity.
me trying to rewire my brain right now.
Yes. So we need to be very mindful, and it takes that effort, that conscious effort of understanding. And once we could pinpoint what is happening, then we could start the process in rewiring and
Yeah,
putting our mind into that space of
yeah,
positivity.
yeah. What struck me there, she said that we have a tiny conscious brain
Yeah.
and a large subconscious brain. I mean, come on. If we are doing things in real time and we are not there totally in the moment, how do we really understand and taking all that is happening so that we are present and we really have teachable moments? And I think that is the one thing that really stands out there for me. She spoke about the stuff that we take in on television, the media, the social people that we hang out with, the Facebook and what have you. And so it brings me to understand that the more we feed our stuff our brains rather, with this negative stuff, is the more the subconscious mind is then trained to think that way.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes we're trying to figure out, well, how am I thinking like this? You mean I really say that? Yes, you did. And the only reason why you said that is because it was in your subconscious. There was something that you did over a consistent period of time, sometimes not even being aware of it, that placed the thought there, and then the thought became an action, and then you went and you did it, or you said it, and now you're suddenly like, oh my gosh, that didn't come from me. Yes, it did. I didn't say that. Yes, you did. You mean that's what I was thinking? Yes, you were. Because that is what you fed into your subconscious. And she's saying that is so very important because just imagine 80% of what we do in the brain, in the mind, comes as a result of the subconscious. While the another 20, which is where we really are supposed to be in the moment, is hurting. So there's that big imbalance that we need to take care of. What that tells me is that if we could put so much negative stuff in there in our subconscious, we can also put some great positive stuff as well. Yeah?
Yes. And it will take time because 20 over 80 to 20, that's a lot of work and retraining of that
Oh,
brain.
yeah. Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. It will take some time. But what's nice about it is that she says it is possible.
It is possible.
We
Yeah.
just have to become aware of these moments
Yes.
and make the right decision that whatever is going to come into my mind is going to be something that could be helpful for me and then helpful for others as well. Yeah.
Yes.
What are your impressions of our guests to come on? I know you're excited. What are you thinking? What are you expecting?
Well, this is also another topic, right? Trauma.
Yeah, yeah.
And I will give a personal story because I kind of went through something similar during my birthing experience.
Hmm.
And I'm so excited to hear what she's going to see and what tactics and strategies she's going to give. But it's something that a lot of women, we don't really talk about. They just talk about they glamorize the fact that hey, you should get married, have children, this that, but they don't really talk about the aftermath. So I'm
Mm,
really really excited about it.
yeah. I was recently looking at a series on television called The Resident. It's about a bunch of doctors who became so close knitted in this particular hospital that they started functioning like a family. And one of the guys, this girl, she came from India to meet her sister who was there. They were twins, and she asked him to be a sperm donor for her children because she wanted children really badly. And he agreed, and she made twins. And for the first week, she was there trying and trying and trying, and they were crying, and she was going crazy. And they would keep asking her, "Do you need help? Can we bring in a professional babysitter or something? It's no problem. Whatever you need, just no, I good. Everything all right." She was telling lies.
Yes.
And then one day they came home and she was gone. And the babies, the twin babies alone, boys, were there and they couldn't find her. They tried reaching out, calling, texting, nothing, no response. Then they showed you that she was standing by a bridge and thinking about taking a dive into the bridge about almost 25 to 30 feet down, thinking about suicide because the postpartum depression was so traumatic that she couldn't handle it. And what her twin sister did was she sent two pictures for her, one of the twin and one of both of them when they were much younger and kind of hugging and reaching out to each other. And the sister told her, I know something is wrong. Please call me. I love you. Please call me. And that is what saved her. She called her and she said, wherever you are, I'll come and pick you up. Let's talk about it. And they eventually got her into a clinic. And after 2 weeks, boom, she was back to a better version of herself because they were professional enough to help her. So this thing is real, Gabriella, real,
Yes.
real, real. And we shouldn't have a situation where we're taking stuff like that for granted or we paint it all nice and think everything is going to be wonderful. You cannot tell what that position of that mom, that new mom, is going to be like after she has given birth to a
Yeah.
newborn baby. Possibilities that this thing could just set in, and that person would immediately need some level of professional help or assistance. So I'm glad that you're excited and looking forward to it.
Yes. Yes. I also want to hear about going through the pregnancy sometimes, because that as well could cause
Hmm.
depression. Women go through that, a lot of that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So I'm really excited to hear what she has to share with us this
Well, I
evening.
see LBW saying yes, 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 and Gracie Vincent saying this is so, so true. And we have another person on. Dexter, could you put up those comments on the screen if it's possible? All right. This is Silda Beaumont, and she says, Etta Berdad mess. I can't
We don't know.
interpret that. I don't know if Dexter can help us with that, but it does not look like anything negative or spam to me, I hope.
Let's hope so.
Um, yeah, I don't have the interpretation of that at the moment. So we are looking forward to having our guests on in a little bit, but I just want to go back to Rhonda for a moment as we wait. And Gabriela, one more thing you highlighted with regards to the negative and the positive in terms of what we put into the subconscious as opposed to the conscious. And what I've seen consistently is that with Laura and with Rhonda, it was a period of time that they had to go through. With Laura was 32 years and with Rhonda was 20 years. And I'm thinking to myself, how is it possible that someone could be living in that kind of shadow of themselves for so long? And I realized that that is the resilience of the human spirit,
Yeah.
that you could reach to a point where you could actually bounce back and say to yourself, you know what? I need to get out of this. I can do better. There's something more for me in life than what I'm currently going through because this is not working for my better good. And they found the strength to get out. And that to me is truly, truly, truly amazing. LBW Radio, it's true.
And
Thank
it's
you
a
so much.
battle. It is
Yes,
a battle
it is.
because I mean, you have to go through and you have to endure, and then on the flip side, you're thinking about, okay, what is society going to say? What is people going to say if I come out of this situation? If I do this, because there's the stigma, there's the expectations, and some people hold back and say, okay, but I stay in the situation, but I go through it, and and what you end up doing is pleasing others rather than putting yourself first.
Hmm.
And she spoke about that. She spoke about being able to love
Yes,
yourself. And
yes.
sometimes the things that we may endure sometimes may stem from the past, stem from things that we would have endured in our childhood, trauma,
Hmm.
as our guest will be speaking about today. And
Hmm.
trauma has so much to do with the brain. It has so much that it functions in the brain so much, and it encompasses the brain so much that it becomes, it's like it's how to put it, it's like it causes the brain to shrink. So this
Hmm.
is where you end up in this survival mode, and you always
Yeah,
feel like you're in this traumatized zone, or you fear being re-traumatized as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So it is a process, but I'm glad that they were able to come out and choose themselves, as difficult and as hard, because I mean 20 years, 32 years to say, okay, let me come out of this,
Mm.
is a lot. It takes a lot of resilience, and it takes a lot of strength. But at the end of the day, they showed the hope, and that there's hope when you do come out. Some people think, okay, there's no hope. And
Mm.
also, she mentioned that even when you come out, it's not like, okay, the issue is going to be resolved. You still have to go through several things. You still have
Process
to
of
go through a
healing.
process of healing,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
And
yeah.
even with our guest last week, she spoke about, yes, okay, she came out of the narcissistic abusive relationship. But okay, that was one issue. But when she came out, she then had to deal with grief,
Mm.
because this is 32 years I have been in a relationship with somebody. So now I have lost this person who I have spent my entire life with.
Yeah,
So then you have to go through that process, but it's not impossible, and healing is a process. It will take time. So
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that is what it that miss. I hope that I pronounce it properly.
Be
It's
careful,
true.
you don't know what
It's
you're
true.
saying.
It's true. No, he said, Dex said it's true. That's what it means.
Okay,
It's
it's true.
true.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I thought it was that, but when I'm not too sure about something, I always don't want to err on the side of caution. So I said, let me
Yes.
just take time with that. So yeah, one of the things that I have observed, and we have done some studies, I've seen these studies, I've heard the reports that this part of the reptilian brain that is controlled by the amygdala, that little gland that tells you freeze, flight, or fight,
Fight, yeah.
the more that has to become your go to response, which is obviously the survival mode, is the larger that little amygdala gets. And that is why at times she is his sister from Bonnie. Okay, wonderful. That explains it. Thank you so much for clearing up that for us, Dex. What happens is that it becomes then something that your whole system is trained to do. That's your sympathetic nervous system. It tells you more than often that there's danger when sometimes there is not.
Yes.
And so, what you have to do is really be conscious and in the moment so that you could, with your senses, just see around you and realize, hey, there's no real danger here. And sometimes that is what mindset is all about. What is the evidence around me saying? I'm feeling this way, but does the evidence connect with the way that I'm feeling? Or is it FALSE, false and appearing to be real?
Yes,
You know?
yes.
So at the end of the day, we really have to be fully conscious of what is happening around us, the ecosystems that exist around us, and to be engaged more in aligning ourselves with the parasympathetic nervous system, which is controlled by the vagus nerve. And that particular organ is responsible for regulating our heart rate in terms of our ability to sleep better, in terms of digestion, and all these other positive things. It regulates that and brings the body back to a place where everything is focused on normal. Because once we're in a flight, freeze, or fight mode, all the vital parts of the body, the organs, they shut down
Yes.
because everything now is focused on the adrenaline rush that is flowing through the body. And the brain is not paying attention to its normal function. It's just working overtime, thinking that it has the duty or sole responsibility of protecting you and giving you signs and warnings that says danger, danger, danger. But you have to find a way within these moments to look at the evidence. And if there is a threat, then there's something that you can do to mitigate that threat. But if there's no threat, then you have to find a way to get back to some semblance of normalcy and take control of your emotions. So I hope that our guest is going to come on in a moment. I see it's 7 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, and I know it's also Eastern Standard Time because the daylight saving system is out. Anticipation is the word that I'm hearing in my mind right now. Nikita, where are you? All right. So what you can do for us, Dex, is line up one of our promotional videos, and we hope that our guest is going to join us just shortly. Let me just check.
Life has a way of throwing challenges at us, whether it's emotional struggles, difficult decisions, or simply feeling stuck. But what if there was a place where you could find not just solutions, but also the tools to create a brighter, more confident future? That's what Gabriella's Double Impact Solutions is here for. Our tagline is mentoring minds, empowering lives. It's more than just words, it's the heart of what we do. We combine counseling to help you heal and process life difficulties with mentorship that offers practical guidance for your personal growth and future success. It's about building strength for today and clarity for tomorrow. We also understand that everyone's journey is different. That's why we offer both secular counseling and faith based counseling grounded in Christian principles for those who desire a spiritual foundation in their healing process. No matter your preference, we meet you where you are. At Gabriella's Double Impact Solutions, mental health is our priority because we know it's the foundation for everything else. Whether you're navigating personal challenges, seeking direction in your career, or striving to build emotional resilience, we are here to help you strive. Solutions, healing, and a future filled with purpose. That's what you'll find at Gabriella's Double Impact Solutions. Visit us today at www.gabriellasdoubleimpact.com to start your journey because we are mentoring minds, empowering lives. Let's grow together.
Okay, so we are back on stage live. I am not seeing anything with regards to our guest, so we're just hanging there and hopefully she will join us momentarily. Okay, so Gabriella, of all the episodes that we have done thus far for the year, which one really stands out most in your mind? I know I kind of put me on the spot, but let's
Yes.
just imagine, right, that you had to choose one. Which one would you say really made the most impact on you as a person, as an individual?
um, God, I can't remember her name.
Ah,
But I think you remember that one I talking about because I messaged you about that one. Um,
is it
and that
Desiree?
was it Desiree? Is she the one who
Yeah,
that is impaired?
yeah, with a hearing, that was Desiree.
Yes,
That was Desiree.
yes. For me, Desiree's episode
Wow.
was the most fulfilling and touching for me, and it was for me spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Coming into the platform, being able to interact with different individuals. I think
Mm-hmm.
with Desiree's episode, it caused me to dig deeper into my relationship with God and
Mm-hmm.
helped me to understand that there's so much out there when it comes to with persons go through so much, and there's really being impaired. She's not able to hear like everybody else, and we sometimes we take things and we take life for granted. We take the
Yeah.
little things for granted, and despite her impairment and despite going through depression and despite everything, she was still able to reach Jesus. She was
Mm-hmm.
still able to worship. She was still able, and she worshiped from a different light. She
Yeah.
worship in both ways. She worships in congregational worship, where she's able to plug on and listen, and she also worships in silence when it's just her and God. And for me, that was one of the most powerful episodes so far for me because it touched me personally. So yeah, I think this one coming up here today would be my next one because I'm very excited about this one. And maybe because it's of a personal alley as well.
Ah,
I went through trauma with my childhood, and it was a fearful thing. It was something that I ran from for years. I was like, I don't want to be pregnant. I don't want to be pregnant. Everybody
mm,
talking about, okay, get pregnant, but it's so much that goes with it.
yeah.
And when I went through my pregnancy and stuff, I made my child, and everything was good. It's all some hours after, just things just went haywire. I
Mm,
started to bleed profusely and couldn't understand why. The doctors couldn't understand why. And when
mm-hmm.
they did realize, it's because they left something inside and I could have died. And they tried
Wow.
their utmost best to revive me. It took me hours. My husband wasn't there because he went home because he saw our daughter been delivered, but he didn't know
Uh-huh.
what happened 2 hours after.
Okay.
And I went through this alone. And I started to think about, oh my God, I could have died. And when I woke up the next day, I was so grateful. So it's something that I had to go through and I had to face for some months, even some years. And interestingly, persons come my direction with the same issues. So it helped me to heal in the process because I would be reaching out to persons to help them as well. So I really want to hear
Right.
what our guest speaker is going to speak about and how she's going to be encouragement and a beacon of hope to other women because we all go through this battle at some point.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for being quite vulnerable there
Yes.
and reminded us that. Wow. Okay. So she said the link isn't working. Okay. You know what? I am just going to resend a link for her. So, Gabriella, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to keep talking while I try to get this link over to Nikita.
No problem.
Um, I'm gonna try doing that now.
All right, great. So I just want to touch about I would just want to touch on Laura Richards' episode last week when she spoke about the narcissistic abusive relationship a little bit, and one of the things that she didn't realize that she was in a narcissistic relationship is only afterwards, and she started to research. Then she put the puzzle together and she was able to realize, okay, this is what was happening to me in my relationship. And that was really confusing, and a lot of people would have been like, okay, how come you didn't see the red flags, how come you wasn't able to identify, but she was, as I mentioned earlier, the brain was wired in such a way that this love bombing episode that she was going through, she was saying, okay, yes, this is happening on a subtle side, but he's also showing me love. And with the love, she was explaining that what she realized is that when persons are looking for love and not loving themselves, that's when it becomes a problem. And she spoke about women needing to love themselves first. Once you are able to love you and you don't depend on and search for love elsewhere, then you are able to rise and stand above everything and every challenge that you face. And because she said sometimes when you're looking for that love, it might be because maybe you had a poor childhood, maybe you didn't receive love growing up, maybe something happened in the past that would have contributed to you thinking, okay, you would find this love in this situation. And what it caused with her being in this narcissistic relationship, it caused now this person who is abusive to be saying a lot of things to her. And then she started to doubt herself. She started to not believe who she was. Her self-esteem dropped even lower. So if you don't understand who you are as a woman, as a lady, if you don't understand the value that you have in yourself, if others come to you and others come and they belittle you, then you should be able to rise because you know who you are. But because she was seeking love in the wrong place, thinking this is the right place, she ended up in a narcissistic relationship. And now that she's out of the relationship, she's seeing clearly. And I want that to be encouragement to the women out there, that before you actually decide to go into relationships, before you make that conscious decision to say, hey, I want to be with this person, I want to spend my life with this person, ensure that you as a person, as an individual, understand who you are, understand your worth, understand your value, understand what you mean. And having that personal relationship with God is also critical, because God tells you everything that you are. You are beautifully and wonderfully made by God. You are made in his image, you are made in his likeness. And if we continue to feed ourselves with these positive words and these positive affirmations, and we tell ourselves, you know what, I'm beautiful, I'm valuable, I'm loving. And we keep telling ourselves these things and we feed our minds with this positive energy. Then when things come our way, it's not going to bog down our self-esteem. It's not going to belittle us. It's not going to cause us to rethink who we are, because we already know who we are and what value we hold. So I hope this little nugget be an encouragement to women out there who may be in narcissistic relationships or any form of abusive relationship, or any situation where you are questioning who you are as an individual.
Wonderful, Gabriella. Thank you so much.
You're
Well done.
welcome.
I just sent the link out to Nikita,
Yeah.
so I hope that she'll be able to join us shortly, because the first one she said it wasn't working. I'm not seeing a response from her, but I did send that link out to her. Hope she gets through with that. I want to kind of barge in on what you're saying in a supportive manner, because we have situations here where we probably would not deal too much with narcissistic abuse per se, but we
We
have
actually have
a
it
heightened, we do have it.
a
We
lot.
do have it.
Yes.
There you go. But it's like being the best kept secret. And we sometimes tend to think that because of culture, because of society, because of some level of shame, we
Unfair.
and fear, yes,
Yes.
and fear, thank you, that we should not be owning up to things like that happening because, well, what is people gonna think about us? But as you rightfully said, based on what we have had before in terms of the information coming out from our guests, we saw that there were situations where they are telling people you can look for certain signs. There are red flags out there. Just be careful. If things are going too fast, find a way to consciously
No.
slow it down. Because if you get caught up in the hype and you run with the hype, and then when reality kicks in and you realize, oh my gosh, it might be too late. So again, let's stress on this point. Once you become engaged in a personal relationship with God, you have to find your self-worth, your self-value, and think about that as being your gift, something that is special and precious and vital to you, the individual, especially young ladies out there. Do not just tell yourself, we're going to have a good time. Do not just tell yourself, oh, he likes me so much. He means the world to me, or he'll bring the world to my feet. That's just a fantasy. Reality is always so much more harsher and negative than that.
Yes.
But there are times and seasons for your life, and you've got to find a way to plan what you need to do with your life. Don't be too hurried to rush into a relationship where you feel like you need to be treated in a particular manner, in a particular way, that somebody would see you as the apple of their eye and would give you the world and the moon and the stars. Those things are a big fantasy and could somehow turn out to be a fallacy as well. That you believe in something that may appear to be real, but behind all of that is something sinister lurking in the background. Now, we are not saying don't trust. We are not saying don't be vulnerable. We are not saying don't share. But what we are saying is this: be careful, be sure, be certain. Look for signs. If something appears to be not too kosher, not too normal, question it. Find out why. Be inquisitive. Why? Because you value yourself as much as God values you. You value yourself. And when you begin to see yourself not only from your perspective, but from God's perspective, then you realize that that level of commitment to you and the value that you seek, if it is not reciprocated from someone else, then you need to make a change and move on. Because it does not make sense that you get into a relationship and you're thinking about spending the rest of your life with that person. But already, before it even takes the formal stages, you're beginning to see signs of deterioration. You're beginning to see signs of negativity. But you're still telling yourself, nah, maybe that's just a blimp in the road. Well, it could be a signal, it could be a sign, it could be
Yes.
something that is saying, hey, you know what? Nah, this is really, really not for me. I am seeing something. Okay, okay. So let me just read this comment here. What Gabriella just said about self worth reminds me of how essential it is to instill in our children, boys and girls, a strong sense of their own value. Tell them daily of how wonderful they I love that. Thank you,
Yes.
Crystal. That is a beautiful way of encouraging. Yes, let them know they are beautiful or handsome, brilliant, smart, incredible, and capable of achieving great things by affirming their word. We help them grow into confident and resilient individuals. Couldn't agree more. And the reason why that is important, Crystal, is because you are going to instill within them that kind of values that someone else may use, but to a negative end. And so sometimes we miss the opportunity to tell them how beautiful they are, how loving they are, how wonderful they are, how kind they are, and how great our expectations of them are. And when we miss those opportunities, someone on the outside could pick up on that and say, okay, this is going to be my window, my door to get into a personal space. And next thing you know, they're heading in that direction. But if we create that opportunity for them right within the environment of the home, especially as you said, the boys and girls in their young stages where their minds are seeking to learn and to gain and to understand, and they're looking for that kind of attention, that kind of love, that kind of affection, we have to give it to them and pay attention to them and let them know that they're important, they matter, and whatever they are doing, it is of value to them and to us. And we care enough to let them know that what we appreciate of them is something that they can take and actually move on and become better and resilient. Yeah?
I just want to touch on what Christine just said. What is one of the challenge also when it comes to parents, and we have a lot of parents who did not receive those type of love growing up.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
we have a lot of parents who don't know how to tell the children that they love them, or to tell them they appreciate them or they value them, because they did not get that themselves.
Hmm.
And there are those who say, what, yes, I didn't receive love, but I want something different for my children. I want to show my child, or my son or my daughter love. I want to show them a different way. I didn't get it. I didn't receive it. But they change that mindset. To have some people who would say, "Well, I didn't receive this, or this didn't happen to me when I was growing up," and they bring it down to the children. They don't say, "Okay," they let that hold them back from being different. And I want to encourage persons to change that mindset. Yes, it might not have been your way of brought up, see, but let's change the narrative. Let's say, what, I didn't receive love, but I'm getting the opportunity now with this child, with my children, to be different, to show them what love is, to show them what, hug them up each day, tell them, I love you, son, I love you, daughter, I appreciate you, mommy appreciates you, mommy love the things that you're doing, daddy loves you. And even the men, I know sometimes men struggle with emotions and expressing themselves, but sometimes, especially the men, we have women who are we are mothers who are with nurture and say, I love you, son. But the voice of a father is it is so powerful. And I want to encourage the fathers also to be active in the children's life and show them love, show them that. So when they do go out in society, they can be they could be gems. They wouldn't. And as I say, when it comes to how they may react, you mightn't see the effect of it now. You mightn't understand it at a tender age, but you see when they start to go to school and they get exposed to friends and all these things, then you get to see, okay, the teachings that you would have given to your children or instill the values, then you would see how they would react when it comes to situations. So it starts at home. It really starts at home. We want to blame the teachers, we want to blame society, we want to blame everybody else, but it starts at home.
Yeah. And what that means, therefore, is that parents have to take full responsibility for the
Yes.
environment in which their children are grown up in. As
Yeah.
Gabriella rightfully says, and as Christelle intimated or hinted, you cannot leave that up to anyone else to do it because they are going to take your place. It can happen so easy. There are so many slick stars out there. That's the term I use for them.
Sixers.
And yeah,
Love
they
it.
are looking for the vulnerable young people. When you look at our situation here in Trinidad and Tobago, and you think about those who are caught up in criminal activity, how old are they? It's the young ones.
These young ones, yes.
They are the target of the gangsters and the negative influence in our society. And sometimes we don't realize that inadvertently we kind of leave that little room open for them to come into the door. And all they need is just a little toe in the door,
Yep.
and they begin to show something to your child that you didn't realize they were missing while they were home because you didn't take your rightful place as a parent. And then before you know it, they're seeking that attention and that love on the outside. And wait a minute, you mean that is what's happening with my daughter? Yes. That's what happened with my
Yeah.
son. Yes. Why? Because you were not there when they needed you the most. Is that an excuse for their behavior? No. But again, it all begins and ends with the level of parenting that you are committed to doing in terms of bringing up that child in that kind of atmosphere where they can feel that love, they can understand that love, and that love can become something that is so real to them that they will not think about going on the outside because it helps them to be the kind of individual that they desire to become. So I see Nikita's on with us, and I hope that she's still raring and ready to go. Yeah. Okay. I love that smile and the thumbs up. That's good. Okay. So, Gabriella, let's do the honors and let's see if we can get Nikita on live in the studio.
Okay, so Niketa Pechan is a Jamaican American licensed clinical therapist, postpartum doula, and trauma informed mental health expert with over a decade of experience in mental health and holistic care. Her impact work has touched the lives of over 2,500 individuals, lead to 200 plus transformative workshops, and garnered more than 100,000 views on social media. Nikita is passionate about sharing insight on women's empowerment, trauma informed care, and cultural wellness to inspire and uplift your audience. We offer holistic psychotherapy, counseling virtually in the state of Mississippi. Her specialty is helping women of color and mothers find balance, inner strength, and clarity of mind. She helps you guide as you move through the shadows of birth trauma, postpartum depression, anxiety, miscarriages, loss, and other pregnancy or postpartum and motherhood challenges. She's also an EMDR therapist for birth trauma, helping mothers and families safely process their unpleasant birth experiences, whether you had an emergency C-section, stillbirth, preemie in NICU, or anything that causes you fear of childbirth. She is here to help you discover the roots of your pain by integrating mind, body, and spirit. So without further ado, let us welcome our special guest today, Niketa Pechan.
Hi, thank you so much for having
Hi.
me.
Oh, thank you
Yes,
for
nice to
being with
have
us. We
you.
appreciate
Yes.
you and we thank you for taking the time to share your
Yes.
wonderful and amazing core competencies with us. Gabriella, I'm going to let you have a go at Nikita in a good way because I know that you're excited about something that you spoke about just now, and she's the
Yes.
expert. So let's go, let's go, let's go.
So Nikita, society often, what's the word?
Romanticize.
Romanticizes, yes, childbirth. Making it difficult for women to openly express disappointment, grief, or trauma. How do you help women to reclaim their narratives without guilt?
Mm. I love that word that romanticize. I think what's romanticized the most is the baby. It's the baby shower, it's the nursery rooms, but it is often stigmatized the struggles that moms face. And so one of the things I do is it sounds very simple, but it's so powerful is having discussions like we're having now and raising awareness around the realities of moms' transition and struggles, advocating for moms because in reality, again, I love that you use that word romanticize. It is romanticized that, oh, the gender reveal and the baby and everything. But really and truly, I educate the community about why it is important for us to support moms and why it is so common for new moms to experience struggles because if we're living in the western part of the world, we are living in a culture where mothers are not respected, a culture where mothers are expected to bear the weight of life. So we are expected to work, we're expected to care for this baby, to show up, to heal, and it's not considered how the postpartum period is really sacred in a lot of cultures too. It is a sacred time for moms to slow down, but in this individualistic society, moms are often expected to speed up, catch up, bounce back. We hear that in the bounce back culture. And so I educate people, I advocate for people, I talk to dads and partners, and I talk to other practitioners, maybe doctors and other community members about the importance of how to slow down in the postpartum period. As a matter of fact, I shared on Facebook the other day, I shared a picture of, it was a bunch of pictures of moms eating their first meal after birth. And their first meal was Burger King, sushi, and all these things. All these things that we know are not good. And what people don't realize is the postpartum period is very, very sacred, very significant, because this is where you're really healing and you're setting the tone for your healing as a woman. And people think that when you pass your postpartum period and the baby is older, you no longer have to worry about it. But it really, how you take care of your body postpartum really affects you as a woman as you age. And so all those things begin to pile up on you. And so I share stuff, I kind of be a commentator on those things and say, no, you're not supposed to eat Burger King right after you have a baby, even though it tastes so good. You're supposed to eat warm foods. You're supposed to not drink ice water and ice drinks. You're supposed to drink warm foods that is nourishing to your womb, because your womb really feels those things. Your womb need warmth. And these are some things that people are not taught. We're not taught. And usually the people who are aware of this are people like me, who are the wellness practitioners, the doulas, and things of that nature. So that's how I raise the awareness. I talk about it. I share controversial posts and I talk about it with the community.
I just learned something there in terms of what you feed your womb after, because I think a lot of us think, okay, we have been trying to eat healthy for the baby all the time, so the first thing we could get that is not healthy, we eat it because we have been trying to be so adamant and so strategic in how we feed the baby. And afterwards, you just want to, anything that we get, if it's ice cream, if it's cake, something that we have been
Mm.
craving. So it's really interesting that you would say that we need to be very mindful of what we feed the womb, and it needs
Mhm.
warmth. And why does it need warmth though?
Yes.
That's for clarity.
So, our body is, when you think of how our body is, when you intake something cold, your muscles, remember your womb is your uterus. Let me just say the term. Your uterus, also known as your womb, it is a muscle. And when you introduce cold to your body, your muscles are going to contract. They're going to tense up. That's just natural. When you notice, if you get cold, you start to go like this and you shiver. You bring your body in, you tense your body in to preserve the warmth. That is not good for your womb, because your womb needs to be relaxed. It's not, when your womb is cold, it is not a healing environment. It is very harsh. It when Because after you give birth to your baby, your uterus is still contracting. It is contracting back to its normal size. So it is going to be a fight. It's going to be hard and rigid, and it's going to be painful, and that just causes a lot of issues. Also, circulation issues. When you are cold, it's not a lot of blood flow there. And so that's why later on women will see that they have issues with their periods. They have heavy periods, painful periods, because we are eating cold things. We're not keeping our feet cold. Keeping our feet warm. We're not doing those things to keep ourselves warm. And I've even noticed it with my own self. When I keep myself warm during those times, I do feel like my muscles are released, loose, and not fighting against me.
As just hormones. How do you help women to differentiate between normal postpartum emotions and when it's time to seek help?
Yes, that's a very great question. And I think the first thing I'm going to say is postpartum, the word postpartum is not postpartum depression, because I hear a lot of women say, "Oh, I had postpartum." After you have a baby, you are postpartum. You are all,
Yeah.
that's a normal, natural state to be in. Saying I am postpartum is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It is the state that you are in after the baby. Now, because you are having a lot of hormonal influxes and fluctuations, you may experience what we call maybe the baby blues, where you may feel a little down or irritable. And also, there are environmental things that might contribute to you feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and all that. Work plays a big role in that. Relationship changes plays a big role in that as well. When we need to really look deep into this, we are looking at, if you're experiencing really heavy mood issues, depression, anxiety, things of that nature past 6 weeks, then we are looking at, okay, maybe you're experiencing postpartum depression, anxiety, or things of that nature. However, I will say this: our culture is a culture that is reactive. It is a culture that wants to fix the disease when the disease is present. I believe that we need to focus on preventative measures. That means we have to support moms right at the gate. That means moms need to understand. Another big issue that I see is moms struggle with breastfeeding, and a lot of times breastfeeding issues can contribute to their mood issues. So moms need support from pregnancy, even beyond, even earlier than that. But moms need to be aware in pregnancy, because your pregnancy, your birth experience, and your postpartum experience is going to affect it all. So if you have a really traumatic birth and then now you're alone in postpartum, you're at a higher risk of having these issues. So moms need support from the village early in their pregnancy. They need awareness, knowledge, and then they need to be prepared. They need a plan in place. Who's going to support me postpartum? Who's going to be there for me? Who's going to support me in getting the nutrients I need? The baby, helping me with the baby, all of that. Who is going to be the village? And so I saw something that said, the village hasn't disappeared. You just now have to kind of pay for it. It's no longer free. Back in the day, yeah, yeah, it is. It's really sad and kind of devastating. But back in the day, grandma, auntie, cousins would come together and they would support you as a village. Now, we don't have that as much because a lot of times the grandmas and the aunties are going to work. They don't have time to sit with you, to be there with you. So now we have to pay for the village. We have to hire the doula to be there. We have to buy the time of the doula, buy the time of the lactation consultant, buy the time of the baby nurse to come in and support us. Unfortunately, that is where we are. And so if we got to invest in our village, I would rather a mom invest and pay for her village to be there than to be there alone, starving. I've had several moms who's like, I haven't eaten today. And that's why it's easy, Gabriella, to reach for the ice cream because you don't have the energy or the time to cook anything. And if you try to eat out, they don't have the foods that you need. And so, yeah, we need to prepare earlier, and I strongly believe that if moms have a plan from pregnancy, they will reduce their risk of postpartum depression and anxiety and other forms of perinatal mood and anxiety disorders.
Yeah,
She
Gabriela.
says she
Yeah.
says that the village hasn't disappeared. We just now have to pay for it. I think that's striking
Wow.
me over and over and over right
You
now.
understand? You understand? I mean, hey, that is so new and it's so dynamic. I
Yes.
wasn't really looking at it from that perspective. Thank you, Nikita, for taking us there. We appreciate that.
Yes.
And we
Yes, very
appreciate
much.
you. This is a question that's been in the back of my mind, and I'm thinking about it as you're speaking. If someone reaches to the point where that postpartum depression and anxiety sets in so deep that they feel alone and lonely, leading probably to the point of doing themselves serious personal bodily harm, what are some of the clinical therapy measures that you would recommend to help rescue them from that situation?
That's a very good question,
Thank
Andy.
you.
I think we all need to be aware of this reality. As a matter of fact, maternal suicide is one of the leading cause of death in new moms.
Wow.
Um, you would think, oh, people don't really pay attention to it because they think, oh, a mom is not going to leave her baby, you know. But that is not the case. We see it happen over and over again. So I think number one, we have to realize that postpartum help and support is everybody's business.
Hmm.
If you know of someone who's pregnant, be a village to that person, you know, because it is a lonely experience. And we need to break out of that mindset that, oh, well, she had the baby, that's her business. We need to get out of the mindset that it's her business and realize that it's our business. Because if we're fighting for political freedom and harmony, we have to understand that all these issues that we're facing starts with that mother and her child, because that child is going to feel the effects of a depressed r- mother who have rage because that mother is not supported well enough, is going to then take on depression or sadness or rage or anger. And then that child will grow up to be an adult in the society. And so we have to understand that this is not just a mom with her baby, but this is the future of our world. And so we all need to first and foremost understand that it is not just her business, it is our business. And we need to own that. And I know I've had conversations in community with maybe older people who are already, they're empty nesters and they've done their part. And I feel like this society we live in, we have that mentality, and it's because it's a revolving cycle. You go through it, it's hard, you struggle, and you cannot wait to get out of it. And when you're out of it, get me out of it, I'm out of the game, don't tag me in, I've done my time. But but we have to shift that a little bit to show up. So that's number one. Number two, you want to look for signs. You want to be checking in. There's really not a way to know if someone is struggling with suicidal thoughts unless they're showing up on social media saying things, unless you ask. You have to ask the question, how are you doing mentally for real? Not just I'm fine, because that's the cliche word. How do you feel? And then notice what they're saying and doing. If they're seeming depressed a lot, if they're saying certain things that is making you nervous, if they all of a sudden they're really depressed for a long time and all of a sudden they're really really happy, and just ask them, I'm just concerned about you, and don't take offense to this, but are have you been having thoughts of hurting yourself or killing yourself? Say the words. Say the words. It is uncomfortable, but it's real. And so you have to directly ask. But before you can get to that point, you have to know that person. So that means you have to take the time to get to know them. But don't be afraid to ask, because asking can actually save someone's life, you know? Yeah.
Oh, that was a clinic by itself there, Nikita.
Yes,
Thank
it
you so
was.
much. Thank you so much. I want to invite Dex to put up one of her videos, and then we're going to have the thought of the week. I believe I would have asked him to line it up. We just have about two videos, and I'm looking at the time, but we just want to fit one in, and then I'm going to go to the thought of the week. Dex? Okay, here we go.
Don't trust therapists. How do you know me better than I know myself? And how do you know what's best for me?
That's actually a good question. Actually, there's a misconception about therapists being experts in people's lives. We're not an expert of your life, we're an expert of the emotional process. We're an expert on trauma. We, great therapists, actually admit that we are not the experts of your lives. We are there to guide you with the expertise of emotions and help you find and discover what's best for you. So, a therapist is not one that should be advising you on what to do. They should be guiding you through understanding your emotions.
Wow.
I don't trust therapists. How do you know me better than I?
Don't repeat it. Don't repeat it. Thank you so much, Dex. Thank you. So before I get into the thought of the week, I want Nikita to do a little bit more on that, because I think people kind of misunderstand what
Yeah.
therapists actually do, and it sends out a wrong picture of the job that you
Yeah.
perform. Yeah? Please help us.
Yes, I'm so glad you guys found that clip. I haven't seen that clip in so long.
And
But
it's only
yes, you're
surprise
right.
face.
There is a huge misconception that therapists are here as the expert of your life. We know best. We're going to tell you what to do. You're going to come to us with your problems and we're going to have the answer for you. That is not a therapist. That is not reality. We are not an advisor of your life. We are there as a guide. So people think of a therapist like, you come into our office and we figure out your life. But really what a therapist is we listen to you, we listen to your story, and we pick up on cues, we pick up on patterns, we hear things, and we walk alongside you as you discover your life, as you discover the connection. So I have a lot of clients who come to me and they're like, well, I don't really know what therapy is supposed to be. And they have this expectation. And I said, no, no, no. This is a collaborative thing. We are working together to discover this. You are the expert of your life. You know more about your life than I do, believe it or not. I know you may feel lost, but you have the power. And so my job is to help them discover that power, to empower them to make the decision. Like clients will be like, what do I do about this situation? And to be honest with you, in my head, I'm like, my opinion is like, you should do this, but I don't say that because that is not what therapy is. My job as a therapist is not to give you my opinion for your life because everyone has a different desire for their life. I might want you to do this, but you might want to do that. And that might just be more fulfilling. So my job is to help you be empowered and figure out what is it that you truly want, because what I want has nothing to do with your life. And so a lot of people are misinformed about that and they're resistant to therapy, like this gentleman. and on and another thing is there are some therapists that come into the field, they're misinformed about what a therapist is, and they think because they have had their own trauma, they kind of want to guide people, not guide people, but advise people on their life. They want to be the person who knows it all. And I tell clients too, therapists aren't perfect. So be aware of therapists who are there to tell you about yourself rather than to hear and empower you to to come up with your own solutions. You know.
I'm sure that has been a breath of fresh air for many people in our audience.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we now gonna have the thought of the week, and I think it's very telling. Okay, so the thought of the week says, when we cherish love, it becomes kind to us and brings us gifts of return. When we cherish love, it becomes kind to us and brings us gifts of return. So, in other words, sow good seeds of love into the lives of people. And at some point in time, it's going to come back to you. Yeah? Beautiful thing that. Okay, Gabriella, over to you again one more time. You're welcome.
Together, right? But I want to just touch on miscarriages for a bit. Miscarriages can be seen like, I mean, or described as an invisible grief. How how do you help women, or what advice would you give to women who may have experienced miscarriages or stillbirths? How do you help them to rebuild trust in themselves again? And how can
Right.
partners or loved ones better support women who experience pregnancy loss without minimizing the pain that the woman might be experiencing at the time?
Right. Yes, that is definitely an invisible grief for some because I don't think society realizes that it's a real loss. I don't know, I feel like society has this view of motherhood and parenthood like babies are dolls, like they're dolls that you have and you could just replace them. People won't admit that, but that's how they respond to people. Oh, you lost a baby, it's a miscarriage, you can have another one. But they don't realize that for this person, this was their child that they lost. And even if that child did not come earthside, that does not mean that that's not a child for them. And so I think society, number one, needs to be more supportive, be more aware. Again, come out of that mentality that if it has nothing to do with me, I don't need to know anything about it. Oftentimes people are not aware of the pain of miscarriage until they themselves endure it, or maybe someone close to them endure it as well. And so be aware. I'm always going to be an advocate for the community to be aware because mothers are the center and the core of society. If mothers are not well, society is not well. And it's so interesting that the society that we're talking about does not treat women and mothers that way. Society does not treat women and mothers like we are the center and the core of this society. And so that's number one. For moms, I just want to validate you and just remind you that this loss is valid. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. You are allowed to remove yourself from situations that triggers you. If someone's not willing to hear, remove yourself from that, even if it's temporarily. Your pain is valid, and it takes time. I mean, people don't realize how triggering it is. Like, you go on social media, you see someone pregnancy announcement, you see a baby shower, you see gender reveal, it's all around you. And people don't realize how much babies and is all around us until you lost your own baby. And now you just everywhere you see a cute baby or you hear a baby in the background, this is all things that's triggering for people. So if you are a friend to someone who has pregnancy loss or child, lost their child, you need to be mindful of that. In the beginning, they might not want to hear anything about no baby. That means a baby cry, sound, all of that. You might want to protect them from that while they get to a point where they can hear that. And ask questions. I think a lot of times in grief, we're afraid to ask questions. We're afraid to say, what can I do? And even say, I don't really know what to say right now. I really just want to be here for you. That is enough, you know? And there are certain things that people say that are triggering, like, hopefully you can try another time, or, God knows what he's doing, or everything happens for, don't say those things, because those things are very dismissive. So be very mindful of dismissive things that you might say that you're trying to say to comfort them.
Nikita. Before I hand over to Andy, just one more question regarding you say you are also a EMDR therapist, right?
Mhm.
Which is basically unlocking deep-seated trauma that persons go through. Could you kind of explain or give a breakdown as to how this helps persons to process trauma?
Sure. So EMDR is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It is the belief that our brain has these built-in mechanisms to help us process things. So, for example, it's very connected to the REM sleep, where we go into deep sleep and our eye movement and things of that nature. The idea is this bilateral movement across our body helps us to process things in our brain. So I don't know if, like, you can remember maybe something happening in a day and you get upset, right? And then you go to sleep, and then when you wake up, you're probably upset about it, but not as angry in that moment. Your brain, while you sleep, processes that thing and makes sense of it a little bit, gives you a little bit more, puts it into a place, a context where that you can handle it. So let's say it's your car broke down, you need to go to work or something, and you had to call out of work. You might be furious today because you're like, oh, I missed an important meeting or whatever. But when you sleep on it, that's why they say sleep on it, right? Because your sleep helps you process things. You might wake up with more of clarity on how to tackle the situation. You might not be happy about it, but you might have a little bit more clarity. And so EMDR is trying to use the brain's um, natural mechanism of processing things to get you to process those traumatic memories. Now, those memories are believed to be stuck. So if something happens to you and you're still responding in a traumatic way, it's as if those memories are stuck. And so when you process it that way, it helps kind of those memories unstuck. So what we do in EMDR, that eye movement will either have something and you'll follow with your eyes, not hypnosis, but it's just a bilateral movement of your body, like moving, like walking. The founder of EMDR found this out by walking. She was walking and processing something, and she realized she felt better. Felt less angry or less emotional about the situation. And so what we're wanting to do is we want to first strengthen resources. We call them resources, which is like things that you can turn to heal. So a resource can be um, being able to put something in a box, or grounding techniques, something that you can access to cope with the intense feeling. Then we help you desensitize. We help you desensitize the the memory. Okay, so eventually we'll take you through different phases, and then when we get to that point, we help desensitize that memory. So we'll help you think about. We'll ask you to think about it, and then will do the movement. So it's either eye movement or tapping. So some people tap this way, some people tap their legs, some people have like these little buzzers in their hands that they tap bilaterally. And so as you're thinking about that memory, it is desensitizing it. And so over time, the idea is for that memory, as you think about it, to not be as painful. And so it's really cool. It was helpful for me as well. I don't practice it too much these days, but it is really cool. I love everything about the brain. And there's so many other models. I am very much mind body. I'm a yoga teacher as well. And so what I do with my clients now is like I do some tapping, but just grounding yourself. The whole idea is your nervous system is so alive, and we hadn't really up until more recently tapped into the nervous system, because the nervous system is a huge part of our mental health. It's the most physical part of our anxiety and mental health.
Wow. Awesome. So how Andy for Metman.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you said it's not a form of hypnosis, because I kind of dig up into it because it was always something I was intrigued about. But how does the practice of the EDMR, how does it cause? Let us say someone would have been experiencing something in childhood, and you say it's like a stuck period. How does this therapy help this person to go through this process without re-traumatizing that person?
Yeah. So that's why we go through different phases. We first of all, before you begin EMDR, we want to assess you to see if you're even ready for EMDR
Okay.
or even in a good space for EMDR. Like a person who really, really struggles with disassociation, we really don't want to do that with them, because you can disassociate and re-traumatize. So that's a really good question too. But we don't just throw you in your trauma. We don't just say, okay, this whole trauma, we're just gonna. No, we take it step by step. And the most important thing is we first build resources for you. So we don't just take you to your trauma, we actually help you build resources. So one of my favorite resources to build with clients is what is your calm place. So we build this visualization of your calm place. My calm place is in Jamaica in my grandparents' yard, right? Yeah, that's my grandparents' yard. I sit where they sit, and that's my calm place. And so we help a client strengthen that. The idea is you're strengthening the resources and you're weakening the traumatic
Okay.
experiences. It's really still really still a phenomenon, because it's still like science is still kind of unpacking it. That's why some people say it's not really that evidence based, but it is a phenomenon that like our brains really know how to process things, and we're leaning on our brain's mechanism of processing things. And so we check in every moment. We're checking in. When we get to a point where we're desensitizing the trauma, we stop and we ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, um how severe is it? And we start to notice if it goes down. So clients will keep going if it's going down. If it's going up, then we're going to stop. But if it's going down, we continue and we continue. And I've seen and had plenty of clients who it works and it helps them, and so it's helped me as well too.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Andy.
Yeah, wonderful. This has been really an engaging and informative session. That's how I would choose to describe it. We have another little surprise for Nikita at this time, so I'd like Bex to cue it up and let's go as we continue with the episode. Bex? Okay, maybe I should sing something. Uh, he didn't give me a feedback there. So we just have another clip that we wanted to line up with regards to the stuff that Nikita is doing. It's so deep and so intrinsic, but yet at the same time can resonate with so many people, particularly with regards to her expertise in dealing with deep trauma and, of course, the postpartum scenario. It's really exciting stuff. So, Dex, if you can get the
I
video
just
up,
came from a walk and I
just okay. Here we
realized
go.
that I'm
I think it might be
noticing
coming
there's
on.
a rise in people feeling depressed and anxious and feeling unfulfilled. And I think we have social media to thank for that. Social media has made us feel like we have to make these billboard level acts, services to matter, for that to matter, for that to be real impact. We have to be the Oprahs and the LeBrons and the Kobe and to, that level to actually matter. And I just want to encourage us to come back to simplicity. Look around your community, like who needs something? Like, we always see people posting stuff on social media, and we always say we're praying for you, but let's get past the we're praying for you and let's the what do you need and actually do it. Because we need to get reconnected, and the more that we are disconnected and so just in social media world, the cyber world, and out of the real world, the more we'll be depressed and anxious. Like, it's going to continue to rise. And I'm a therapist, actually. And so I'm just really encouraging us to find an elderly couple that needs their yard cleaned. Find the postpartum mom who just had a baby and might be starving. Get her some food, like, let's do something. And I'm talking to myself too, because it's so easy to be comfortable doing your own thing, like not want to be bothered by other people's problems because you have your own problems. But that's not how humanity was. If you want to go back to historically how we were a community. We helped each other, we supported each other. Like, if there's a mom that needs her babies watched, like, and you're a mom, just watch her baby. Like, let's watch each other babies, like back in the day. Let's really just help each other. We have to connect back to community and culture in order for us to heal ourselves from this anxiety and stress. So comment below what you're gonna do this year that's gonna help you stay connected back to community and yourself.
Wow.
Because that's really what walking in your purpose means. All right.
Wow, 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 wow. So, Nikita, I just want to bring this down real nice and neat. Three things. One, simplicity. We need to just keep things simple. I love that. I believe in that. That's powerful. Number two, let's just find a way to simply be there for each other for the things that makes our lives work. And thirdly, don't just say I'm going to pray for you, do something. The prayer is good, but people need to feel that you actually care by doing, because love really is a doing more than tell. Anybody could say I love you, I care about you, but hey, if I don't feel it because it's not been displayed or shown, then I really don't know. So before you answer,
Fair.
um, Dexter, bring back the comments. Trishy Lou says, love the video, very deep. Thank you so much. We appreciate your
Thank
comment.
you.
Tell someone. Nikita loves it. And Christelle Rene says, I love this. Great, wonderful. We thank you so much for doing that. Yeah, right back at you. Okay, so there you go. Be of service to others. Exactly. That's it. We're getting it. I love this. So just emphasize more on that for us, please, Nikita.
Mhm. So I've been seeing more and more people with really great lives, right? You have the money, the family, being more depressed, being more anxious. And it is because we've lost the sense of simplicity. We've lost the sense of being. We're constantly chasing the next ceiling. And if we could just come back to simplicity, I remember I thought of that video because I had just left the park with my kids. And I literally was just sitting there. When I go to the park with my kids, I always see the parents on their phones and they're sitting down. And so I just thought about it and I picked up a stick and I started writing in the sand. And
Wow.
then this guy's father was like, "Oh, you're just writing in the sand." And he was laughing at me. But I was
Mhm.
like, "Yes, I'm just connecting with my inner child." And in that moment, I literally connected with my inner child, like my
Mhm.
little girl self who was playing in the sand. And we miss moments because we are not connected to the moment. Why do
Mm.
we have to stop playing because we're grown? Why do we have to stop having fun? And so that's one part, simplicity, reconnecting back to ourselves. And also, like, the commenters were saying, be a service to others. We are so lost. We are so lost from this idea of community and village.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
non-existent almost in
Yeah.
this side of the world. We have to literally ask, be in a habit of asking, how are you? What do you really need? And guess what? People around you are going to say, oh, I'm fine. Because that's just how the culture is.
Yeah.
Don't ask for help. Do
Yeah.
your own
Yeah.
thing. But
Yeah.
really get into the habit of supporting each other, even if it's the littlest things. I mean, that would be so impactful. And wouldn't it be better to live a life giving a little? Because it's easy for us to say, oh, I'm going to give to the kids in Africa, and I'm going to go and fly to Peru and build a school. That's cool. It's needed. I'm never going to discourage you from doing that. But why don't you do that still? Why don't you live a life like that? Why do you
Mm.
only why do you only opt to serve once or twice or three times a year
Mm.
when you could live a life serving people, and it doesn't have to cost you anything? It doesn't have to take from your life. We have to get from being very self-centered to really caring about others.
Wow, that's deep. That's profound. Thank you. Gabriela, I need to catch my breath a bit.
Oh my God, Nikita, you are touching a nerve here. I
Here
mean,
we go.
we really have gone far. We really have strayed away from love, from who we need to be as people, our brothers keepers. We know we say it and we don't do it.
Hmm.
It's so much pain in our hearts. It's a lot of, I don't know. We're just so far. It's so far.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's really sad that we're not in this place where we could just reach out to somebody, and we know we might reach out and then this person go and tell the next person and there's trust broken. So you want to, some people want to get back to that community, some people want to trust and they want to get back into that space, but they have been broken down by people so much, disappointed by people. But we need to get back into that space. And if we started at home, we started with our children, we started with the people that we have around us, our family members, and then we extend it onto the community, it's going to have a rapid effect. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting where you went with that, and having a service and having being selfless. A lot of persons struggle with being selfless. It's about a selfish thing. It's about me, 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 me.
Right.
But
And
if we
if I can
get,
add, if
yes,
I can add to that too, Gabriella, you know, I think I was saying in the video as well, people are so caught up in this big billboard expression of
yes,
impact.
yes,
That is also a sense of
Hmm.
arrogance for a lot of
Yeah.
yes,
people,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes,
because you think that you have to be
yeah,
making this global impact.
yeah.
It's really,
The
what's
bigger you
really behind
impact,
that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
what's behind that is, I want to feel so good. I want people to look at me. I want the likes. I want the accolades. It's not
Mm.
yes,
really because I want to impact. Well, maybe it is a little bit, but it's more so for yourself.
yes,
So that's why I challenge people. If you really want to be a person that really is genuine and authentic, serve your neighbor.
Yeah.
The one that no one is ever going to see you post about,
Yeah.
no one is going to give you a like. We need to get out of the social media culture of
yes,
everything has to be liked and validated by people. You can do stuff in the dark, not
Yeah.
in the dark like in a bad way, but you can
Yeah.
do stuff without people knowing.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. This has generated so much positive vibes, and I know that our people in the community are really getting a deeper sense of understanding of what it's
yes.
like to just be a decent human
Human being.
being. That's the bottom line. That's what it all
Mm-hmm.
boils down to. So thank
Yeah.
you, Nikita. We are coming to the end of the program. I just asked our producer for a little extra time. I'm not going to take all of it, but I'm beginning to sense that we are taking an approach here that says to people, Nikita, Gabriela, and Dex, that there's hope.
Mm,
Even though so many dark things are happening in the world, and boy, are they dark.
mm,
The
Mm.
climate, in terms of the politics and the economies around the world, things are shifting. Let's be real about what is happening. But yet, even though that's happening, we can still, as Nikita said, get back to the simple basics and keep things really simple. So, wow. Bernadine says, I have to stop for this. Hi, good night. Lend moral support to others, and what you're going through, something, just sleep on it. And when you wake up, you will see the situation is a different light. Very informative tonight. Love it. Thank you so much. Hats off. Hats off to you, Bernadine. We appreciate that. We appreciate you. And it was inspired by
Beautiful.
Nikita. So, what we're saying is let's find a way to get back to that basic place where I'm really my brother or my sister's keeper for real. And it doesn't have to be something that's written on a social media platform. I'm not doing it for the likes. I'm doing it because I care. I'm doing it because it is the right thing to do. And I think that's what we need to define. Once we understand the right reason for something being, then we can just be that. Because it's
Yes.
not about looking for a reward, it's not about looking for a like. It's about just planting seeds of love, as I said in my thought, so that at some point in time, maybe it may never return to you, you know. It could return to someone after you, but at least you would have planted the seed.
Seed.
That's
Yeah.
important. Yeah? Gabriella, back to you.
Yes, it's really interesting that you mentioned that there because when you think about what you just said in terms of it mightn't be for me, it might be for my generation coming up. We
Hmm.
really don't
Hmm.
understand what we do today is actually making that as paving the way for our future generations.
Yeah.
And if we get to understand, we get to search our hearts and search our minds and say, what am I doing this for? Am I doing this because I really care? And even if you're struggling and you're at that place, I pray that the Lord touches your heart and softens your heart, that He turns that heart into flesh, into something that will care
Hmm.
about others because
That's
He
right.
cares for us. He cares for
Hmm.
us.
Hmm.
And I just want to encourage persons, just search yourself each and every day and question yourself, what is my purpose? What am I doing here? Where's my heart at? Where's my mind at? And search yourself daily. So
Wonderful.
Nikita, thank you
Yeah.
so much. I
Yeah.
mean, it was short, but maybe we'll get you on at a later time so we could extend this conversation.
Yeah,
So really looking forward.
we need to do that. If it's really
Yes.
nice, we need to do it thrice, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Who
tries.
knows? Who knows?
Yeah, it's true.
All right. So I just want to have the thought of the week one more time, and I'll leave closing remarks for Nikita. Whatever's on your heart, just lay it on us. So, my thought of the week, as it comes up, it says, when we cherish love, it becomes kind to us and brings us gifts of return. May I repeat? When we cherish love, it becomes kind to us and brings us gifts of return. So please don't just cherish it for ourselves, but for others as well. Okay, so Nikita, if you had a megaphone to speak to just about 7.8 billion people, which is roughly the world population at this time, it's the
Wow.
very last thing that you're going to say to them and it's going to make a tremendous impact. What would it be?
The very last thing that I would say to them, oh my, I would say love God, love others, and care for the planet because
Mm,
it all connects. When you love
yes.
God, you love the people and you love His creation.
Yeah.
But when you don't love God and you don't submit and you don't serve Him and you don't align, you don't love people because
Mm,
people are the image of God,
yeah.
right? And you don't care about the planet, and we can see climate change happening. So that's why I would say that is the core of, I think that's the core of it all, to love
Hmm.
God, love His people, and love His creation.
Yeah. Wonderful. That's like the icing on the cake. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Nikita. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. So, any closing remarks, Gabriella, as we wrap up?
I just want to thank Nikita for such an insightful conversation, sharing her powerful wisdom, experiences. Thank you so much. And for just being down to earth. That is all I'm seeing right now. I'm just seeing a down to earth person. It's not about being professional, it's not about being this high-fluted person, but just being human, just sharing your
Yeah.
heart. So thank you so much for sharing all that you have shared tonight. And I really pray that God continues to bless you and even give you the strength that you need to continue to impact lives for that you would be able to impact the lives of the people that may come into your scope.
Yeah,
Thank you. I
wonderful.
received that. Oh my
Yes, you're
gosh.
Yes,
welcome.
it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Warm and fuzzy. So,
Yes.
Nikita, we just want you to stick around a minute or two after we wrap up. I'm sure Dex is excited to say some stuff to you, and I just want to leave a little announcement with you. But at the end of the day, we have to wrap up, and we thank everyone who commented, who made a contribution to making this program as successful and engaging as it is. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a loved one, tell a fellow student, a fellow worker, an acquaintance, tell somebody about breaking out of depression, because we are here building a community so that people could find a way to get some level of inspiration to deal with the negative aspects and influence of depression, anxiety, burnout, you name it. So, in all that you do, please continue to do everything that you can to break out of depression. We love you. God loves you too, more than we can do. So stay blessed in His name. And always remember that every day in life is an opportunity for us to sow seeds of love in one another's lives. Bye for now. Until next time. Take care, folks.
There ain't got no way, ain't got no way I'm gonna make it without my Lord, no. Ain't got no way I'm gonna make it without my Lord, no. Ain't got no way I'm gonna make it without my Lord, no. Ain't got no way I'm gonna make it without my Lord. Trouble in my way, but daily hear me say, ain't got no way, ain't got no way, ain't got no way, ain't got no way.